Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and the Phils have made a bullpen signing that some rival executive thinks is sneaky good. We'll talk to you about it on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for 5 years now. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the past 3 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that if you're checking us out in podcast form, if you're just listening today, that you're rating and reviewing. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you got to get on that because the season's starting. When you subscribe, you're going to get notifications when new episodes are posted. So you're always caught up on all the latest Philadelphia Phillies news. It helps you out. It's free. It's easy. It's also a great way to help us out here on Locked On Phillies. So if you like the content, subscribing to the YouTube is a great thank you that you can do. So I appreciate everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go ahead and check out our friends over at FanDuel. So the Phils made a surprising signing just before opening day. By the way, congrats everybody, all you baseball fans out there. We have made it to the week of opening day. The Phils will open up their season Thursday in Washington. They've just finished up their final spring training game. So now it's just a couple of days of rest. Tuesday and Wednesday off as travel days, and then the real thing starts Thursday. So we've made it through the long winter, the long off season. And the Phillies had a nice little final move for us before the season started when it comes to acquiring players. Now, I believe this will be the final move. Who knows what happens in the next 2 days, but I'd assume that this will be the last thing they do. They go out and they sign Carlos Hernandez, a reliever, righty, formerly with the Kansas City Royals. And I've heard through a couple people that a rival executive apparently looks at this as a sneaky good signing. So I did a little bit of a deep dive into Carlos Hernandez's numbers. And by deep dive for me, because I'm not a major analytics guy, but just looking at his performance the last couple of years, I understand why there is high upside with this move. First, let's tell you why they made the move, really. And it's because, well, there's still questions about Matt Strahm. Now, the thought is he could be ready for opening day. But if the Phillies decide that they want to put him on like the 15-day injured list, retroactive to something, and have him miss the first series against the Nationals, which is not a big deal. You're not going to use every reliever in that 3-game series, especially with an off day on Friday. Then you're going to just need somebody in the pen. So maybe it's a short-term thing. Maybe this is Taijuan Walker will be off this roster once you get Ranger Suarez back for the back stiffness. We're still monitoring that situation, but Suarez still currently down. Strahm still currently down. We'll see what those guys' statuses are for the start of the season. You needed a little bit more depth. So the Phillies went out there and they signed Hernandez. Now, I think Hernandez could be a nice piece in the bullpen in general. We've talked about the lack of bullpen depth, right? They're fighting to figure out who's going to fill out the final couple spots in the bullpen. And Hernandez seems like a good candidate, right? Now, I would like to have seen them add another lefty arm because you do have some good righties in Kirkering and Romano and Ruiz and all these guys that you look at as plus righty arms in the pen, but you can never have too many flamethrowers. And Carlos Hernandez throws hard. Guy's going to be touching like 98, maybe even 99. Plus velocity is something that plays always at the major league level. Right now, you need to be a pitcher on top of that. I'm not saying all you need is to throw 98 because a lot of guys throw 98. But there's a reason that if you throw hard, you're probably getting a look. And that's what's up with Carlos Hernandez. But he also has a good amount of major league experience. He spent 5 years at the major league level, all with the Kansas City Royals. He's only 28 years old. So for bullpen age, that's a young pup, right? The idea is hopefully he's heading into his prime for the Philadelphia Phillies or wherever he goes next. I know he just signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a 1-year deal. $1.16 million is what's listed here on Baseball Reference as I look at his page. But the numbers for Carlos Hernandez are kind of tricky. So this past year, He had a 3.30 ERA in 27 games. So 27 appearances, 3.3 ERA. Feel pretty good about that. The strikeout numbers, 27 strikeouts in 30 innings pitched. Okay. You'd like to see that number go up a little bit, but he's had strikeout success in the past. 23 was a good year for him. He had 77 strikeouts in 70 innings, but the ERA was a 5.27. Now, 22, he had a 7.39 ERA in 56 innings. 2021 at 3.68 ERA, so he's volatile. But something else that's nice to see for Hernandez is he has made a total of 25 starts at the major league level. Now, I'm not sure if all of those were like opening stints or if they were like spot starts or exactly what they were. But the fact that the Royals trusted him to do that shows that he's not just a one-inning guy, right? He's a dude that can go out there and give you 2 innings if you need, maybe 3 innings if you need, can start in a pinch. And the Phillies have starting rotation depth, but he's a little bit versatile. He is a hard thrower. The strikeout numbers will come for him. The walks went down last year. He had 31 in each of the seasons in 2022 and 2023. I think part of the reason he was so good last year was because he cut that number to 16. Now his innings were down. But still, if you're walking someone every other inning, that's not awful. He only gave up 24 hits. So the whip you're looking at is a 1.333 repeating. So allowing a little over a base runner an inning. Here's the cool thing about this move, though, for Carlos Hernandez. He's not going to be asked to do all that much. Like, if you looked at that and you said, man, I don't know if I want to give that guy the 8th inning. Well, guess what? He's not getting the 8th inning. Jose Alvarado's getting the 8th inning. Orion Kirkring's getting the 8th inning. Jordan Romano's getting the 8th inning in certain spots. You're not going to have to worry about when Matt Strom's healthy. Matt Strom's getting the 8th inning. This is a guy that's going to be the 5th, 6th, or 7th inning pitcher. And you could do much worse than Carlos Hernandez for that spot. So you've got a guy that has starting versatility, a hell of an arm on him, which is always good to add velocity to the bullpen. I'm tired of those days where the Phillies had guys in the bullpen throwing like 92. It doesn't play in modern baseball anymore, right? Velocity isn't king, but man, maybe it's Prince. I don't know. It's up there for the most important things for a pitcher at the major league level, and he has that. The versatility to start if you need him to, in like a tricky situation, is a good thing to have. The fact that he's 28 and still has upside on his career when it comes to, well, could he continue to develop? I don't think anyone at 28 is a finished product when it comes to bullpen pitchers. So he's got stuff he can work on there. I like it to go get the Carlos Hernandez signing done for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not a splash move. It's not anything that's going to make people look back at this offseason and say, wow, what a success that was. But it's a necessary move that could have been Nabil Krismat. It could have been Devin Sweet. It could have been Tyler Phillips. It could have been Michael Mercado. It could have been these other guys that probably aren't ready to be consistent contributors at the major league level. And the Phillies got a guy who was a consistent contributor at the major league level last year for a team that was pretty darn good pitching-wise in the Kansas City Royals in 2024. So I really like this signing. I think all of that is what goes into what I told you about in the open, where I've heard from a rival executive, or I've heard through other people what a rival executive said about this move. And he said that's a sneaky good signing for the Philadelphia Phillies. So if you're wondering who Carlos Hernandez is or what he's going to do for the Phils, I think that's a pretty nice breakdown of what exactly you should expect from him in the middle or the front end of the Phillies bullpen. Like, that should make you feel more confident about the overall well-roundedness of this bullpen. You needed another arm, and you needed it to be filled by someone who could pitch at the major league level. Could this guy be like Junior Marte? I mean, I guess, but he's not going to be a dude that looks overmatched at the major league level. He might be a guy that's not as good as we need him to be at some points. He's not going to be an all-star or anything like that, but he's not a dude that doesn't belong at this level. And in past years, the Phillies have had people in the bullpen, not these past like 3 years, but before that, they've had people in the bullpen that do not belong at the major league level. So don't take for granted how hard it is to get guys that know how to pitch at this level into the pen for opening day, especially when you have issues as late into spring training as the Philadelphia Phillies did. So I love this from Dave Dombrowski. I love this for the Phillies bullpen. It doesn't make me, it does make me less concerned about the Phillies bullpen, but it doesn't quell all of those concerns. It just should make you feel more comfortable heading into opening day that, okay, you have a little bit of a safety net now in the pen that you didn't have before. That's addressing a need. and getting it done in a timely manner. And that's why Dave Dombrowski deserves more credit than he's gotten for this offseason, even though he has not made a splash move. It's because he's done kind of what he's needed to do. He hasn't gone above and beyond. But like anyone who's given Dombrowski an F, I don't know, maybe more of a C, like passing grade, but nothing crazy. That's where I'm viewing Dave Dombrowski right now. Now, we've been making our opening day roster predictions every Tuesday for the past couple of weeks. We've got a better idea now because the Phillies made a decision on position players. It's an interesting one. It's one that I had from the start of my roster projection. So I'll pat myself on the back a little bit, but I'll also tell you why Kody Clemens found out today that he's going to be making the Major League roster and what that means for other players that were involved in that race for that position. We will discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you about my friends over at Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Listen, if you don't trust me, listen to who endorses it. Now, first off, you should trust me. I had my personal training certification coming out of college. I know about this stuff. I personal trained before I got into sports talk. This is kind of something that I've worked with before, but I could never dream of creating protein powders or pre-workout or these type of products that Just Ingredients did. Just Ingredients offers an NSF certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, creatine, all of the great stuff that you need, and all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Why do those major athletic organizations ban stuff? Because it's not good for the athletes. Well, Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, your Philadelphia Phillies own Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. This is not just for the ad read right now, what I'm about to say. As soon as I'm done recording this podcast, I'm going to go lift. And what I'm going to do before is take the Just Ingredients electrolytes that they sent me. And after, I'm going to take the Just Ingredients protein powder. They taste great. They get the job done. They make my workout feel worth it. It's so great. I love Just Ingredients. I love that they sent me some stuff so I could try it and tell you firsthand how good what they do is. So visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB and you'll get 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. So go ahead and check out our friends over at Just Ingredients. All right, so we had some roster news when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies and what they're doing ahead of opening day. This is the week where obviously they'll have to get things all set up when it comes to who's going to make the roster. And today, Kody Clemens was told that he has made the team. So congrats to Kody Clemens. He was a guy in my roster projection version 1.0 that I had making the team as a depth option. And now it turns out that I should have just stuck with that the whole time. I ended up switching it around. I said Christian Arroyo was going to be that final guy. Arroyo did not make the team, but Kody Clemens is on there. And part of the argument that I used for Kody Clemens at the time I had him on the team was this dude has the most major league experience of any player available at that level with the Philadelphia Phillies. Like Arroyo had played at the major league level. Sure, great. That's beneficial, but Clemens did it here. Buddy Kennedy had been up a little bit, but not quite as much. Cal Stevenson had been up a little bit, but not quite as much. Weston Wilson obviously is on the shelf with an oblique injury. That's why this spot is open. Now, what's going to be interesting is what happens with Kody Clemens when Weston Wilson is available. Do you then give Weston Wilson his spot? I guess that's going to depend on how the outfield looks, because Kody Clemens, I guess, could play corner outfield, but he's more of a first baseman. Now, you didn't really have a true backup first baseman unless you're going to play like Kyle Schwarber or Alec Boehm there if Bryce Harper needs a day. So Clemens can go over there and play first base, which I do think is a sneaky need for this team, or was before they placed him on the roster. So I don't hate it. Now, it's another lefty bat. So the righties in this lineup are really, really going to have to be good. Edmundo Sosa is going to have to be a great year. Have a great year, be a great player and have a great year, because he's basically your only bench righty bat. I don't know what Rojas is offensively still. He had a great spring. Hopefully that will continue into the regular season. I mean, we'll talk about that in just a second with how that all plays into this equation, because I think they like what they've seen from Rojas, and I think they've liked what they've seen from Brandon Marsh is they basically named him the everyday center fielder. We will talk about that in our Mailbag Monday questions coming up at the end of the show because somebody asked about that platoon in center field, which is not a platoon, but we'll explain. But Kody Clemens as a lefty means Edmundo Sosa and Yohan Rojas are your only two righty bats off the bench. Rojas is more of a defensive replacement. So, Sosa, you better go out there and get the job done. And he has. That's not a ultimatum or anything for Edmundo Sosa, who's been awesome with the Phillies. It just means his job got more important. Now, you might say, what happens to some of those other guys? Because there were dudes without options. There were guys that were close to making the team that the Phillies may think AAA may not be the right move for them. One of them is Buddy Kennedy. Now, Buddy Kennedy was in that competition with Kody Clemens. He is the guy that misses out on the spot. I mean, for all that I love about Kody Clemens and why I think this is the right move because he's the more proven major league player, I feel for Buddy Kennedy, man. Local kid, out of Millville, Phillies fan, ends up playing for the organization last year, ends up having a chance to make the opening day roster this year. That would have been an amazing moment for him. It sucks that he doesn't get to experience it. The Phillies aren't running a charity. They're running a Major League Baseball organization. So you got to make the move what's best for the team. You can't just make a decision like, it would be cool if this kid made the team. So that sucks. And what sucks more for him is he probably enjoys being part of the Philadelphia Phillies and probably wants to be here as long as he can, but he's not Bryce Harper. He's not Trey Turner. He's on the fringe of the major leagues. So the Phillies have decided that what they're going to do with Buddy Kennedy is they're going to seek a trade partner. Now, I don't know what you even get for a player like Buddy Kennedy. Maybe there's a team out there that needs him as a depth piece, a team less talented than the Philadelphia Phillies, and says, well, they're not going to have him on his opening day roster, but they were close to putting him on theirs. Maybe we need him as a depth piece on ours. Maybe we need a right-handed bat in the outfield. Okay, let's go take a peek at that and see if he's a player that we'd like to acquire. And I'd imagine it'll be like a low-level prospect, minor league arm or something that you get back because you always need pitching. You're not going to get anything like sizable for it. Maybe a player to be named later. But the Phillies are going to look to trade Buddy Kennedy ahead of the season. If not, he will be DFA. So that's what the future holds for Buddy Kennedy. Guys like Cal Stevenson not going to be on the opening day roster. So the position players are set. There's basically just the pitching staff to work out depending on if Ranger Suarez and Matt Strom are going to be on the opening day roster or if they're going to start the season on the injured list. But pretty much everything is taking shape for the Philadelphia Phillies and no major surprises when it comes to what you should have been expecting with the roster. So we'll go through tomorrow. Tomorrow's episode is going to be a breakdown of the 26-man opening day roster because we will basically have the announcement tomorrow. We'll have everything figured out tomorrow. They're not just going to say on Thursday, hey, these are the two guys in the pen or whatever. We will have a good idea. We already kind of do, but I just want to give it its time to break down on the schedule that we've been using this offseason, which is roster projection every Tuesday. But until then, this is what the position player group looks like. And credit to Kody Clemens for being a part of the team. Here's the thing. That should not make anybody feel bad about the Philadelphia Phillies depth, right? Kody Clemens, fringe major league player. Had success last year. Had success the year before. I like where he puts you as far as depth. I just wish he was right-handed. We got to talk to Roger Clemens about that. Should have made your kid righty. Now, everyone wants their kid to be lefty these days, but you get my point. It's just a joke. On that point, by the way, we've had people asking about division predictions and projections and all of that. I got a DM from a guy today asking about it. My guy Mike saying, when is the division preview going on? Today. It may already be posted because it's being posted by our network. It will be on the same YouTube feed, the same podcast feed. I'm not the one specifically posting it like I do with my regular episodes. We did an NL East roundtable. So we checked in. It was me and all of the guys from the National League East Locked On podcast shows. So Nationals, Marlins, Braves, Mets, Phillies, all of us were in there. We discussed a lot of major topics about opening day and what could happen there. I made a very bold prediction when it comes to a relief pitcher on the Philadelphia Phillies. So we talked about some great stuff. That's going to be posted today. At some point, it may already be out by the time you're watching this episode. So go ahead and check that out for sure if you want the division previews. We're going to do our own here on Locked On Phillies as well later on. That would probably be a good Wednesday episode, or maybe even back half of tomorrow episode as we draw closer to opening day. But you will get that if you watch that crossover episode, the NL East Roundtable, which is available. We'll just say available now. So go ahead and look for that. Great stuff heading into the season. Great information for you here still on Locked On Phillies and those crossovers. So make sure you check that out as the opening day roster takes shape and we draw another day closer to real regular baseball, not in Philadelphia, in Washington, and then in Philadelphia. Coming up next, we're going to round out today's episode with Mailbag Monday questions. And this is where we will get into that Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas conversation because I got a question that I don't need. It's a very pointed question, the way the person tweeted it at me. I'll read that for you coming up next and tell you why I don't know why we're so angsty about the position. But we will get into that as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about FanDuel real quick because March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Now, I can't believe that FanDuel is still running this promo because I took them to task this weekend on the tournament. Man, I was crushing it. And the reason why I was able to crush it on the FanDuel app is because they make it so easy for you. The interface is awesome. The payouts come out immediately when you win your bet. So you have a chance to get in on all the games that you want to. You can live bet the games that you want to give yourself the edge. It's a great way to bet, especially when you have a lot going on. There's like a billion games going on at once. It helps you. The easy interface helps you keep track of everything. This is the app you want to use. Of all the ones that are out there, FanDuel is the top of the top. And there's always something exciting to bet on. So go ahead and check out FanDuel. Again, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That offer for new customers. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long with our friends over at FanDuel. All right, let's round out with our Mailbag Monday questions, or rather, question, because we got one. Now, this is our last Mailbag Monday segment. Of course, the season's going to start. We're going to be recapping games and talking about big news, and it's going to get rolling really quick. So first and foremost, before we do this, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who over the course of the offseason and spring training and everything sent in their Mailbag Monday questions. Not only did you help me with content, but it's great to be able to hear what the fan base is worrying about or thinking about. It's awesome also to just interact with you guys and get you a chance to have your thoughts heard on the podcast. So I really, bottom of my heart, I appreciate everyone who's asked me questions throughout the offseason and spring training. I would love to continue it throughout the season, but there's just going to be so much to talk about. We got a bunch of stuff that we're going to be getting into with this baseball team and them playing actual games. Now, that being said, the question that we round out Mailbag Monday with, I hate this question. I'm sorry. I don't hate the person. I hate the question. Let's have that be clear. But A on Twitter, just A is all that's listed there, asks, do you feel that when the Marsh Rojas center field platoon fails again, that a package of Crawford, Abel, and others will be sent for Luis Robert? Now, on so many levels, this is an insane question. Let's first start with do you feel that when the Marsh Rojas center field platoon fails again? Okay, you're already giving up on something before the season starts. I get it. Brandon Marsh is not an all-world center fielder. Johan Rojas is not an all-world center fielder. He is defensively. But neither of these guys are like all-star level players right now. I do still think Marsh has upside of maybe a fringe all-star, but that's in a best-case scenario. Still, you can't go into a season and be like, well, this is going to fail. They're going to fail. What happens after? Do you feel when that happens? Not an if, when. Also, it's incorrect because Marsh is not going to platoon in center field. He's going to be your everyday starter in center field for a sizable portion of the start of the season. And then they're going to reevaluate. He's not just going to play every game out there blindly if he's hitting 200. But he is going to get the opportunity to be an everyday starter, which I think he has earned. I think he deserves. I think it's important to figure out how you want to proceed with this team. If he is not proven as an everyday starter, guess who's going to be on the trading block? Brandon Marsh. Like, they're not going into another season with this will they, won't they, center field Rojas Marsh conversation, right? This is Marsh's chance to grab the bull by the horns. If he doesn't, they will go back to a platoon. If they do, that's probably a good sign that they're going to need to do something sizable in the outfield next offseason. But we'll get there when we get there. For the time being, Marsh is going to be the everyday starter in center field. So the first part of that question is erroneous. The second part, a package of Justin Crawford, who the Phillies are putting to AAA. Now, Mick Abel has not developed the way that you'd expect him to develop. He is still a guy that the Phillies seem to like a little bit. He's a guy that the Phillies look at and say, okay, maybe we could still get something out of this guy who was part of – there was the three-headed monster, right, of Andrew Painter, Griff McGarry, and Mick Abel. And really, the only guy that has panned out based on expectation has been Andrew Painter. Now his expectation was lofty, so that's great to see. Mick Abel's kind of in the middle where it's like maybe we'll still get something out of this guy. Don't really know what he is, but we'll see. His development has slowed, but could he still be a major league pitcher one day? Sure. And then also you're looking at a situation with Griff McGarry where he's just nowhere close. He's really fallen off the face of the earth. He's not even like talked about with Phillies prospects anymore. So moving Justin Crawford, who's a top 3 prospect in your organization, and Mick Abel, who some still believe have an upside of a major league pitcher. For Luis Robert, like, no, they're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. That's just like no. Now, trade deadline, a lot of stuff can change, right? Trade deadline, we'll see. If they feel like they're a center fielder away, maybe they do make a very aggressive move. But, guys, it's March, right? It's March 24th as I record this. We are not remotely in a zone where we need to start worrying about trade deadline moves yet. We got to evaluate what this team is, whether they're close, whether they're the favorites. Who knows what this season has for the Philadelphia Phillies? They have major upside. They could win 97 games, 98 games, 100 games. Like, now that's upside of the prediction scale. And I will give you some predictions for the year for players, for the division, for the World Series, for win totals, all of that stuff. That'll be Wednesday's episode, or maybe even Thursday before the opening day game gets going. But yeah, it's just you're worried about too much stuff there in that question than you need to be as far as that's concerned. I'll say this right now. Whatever happens at the trade deadline, this is before the season starts. You can clip this. You can lock it in. The Phillies are not moving Justin Crawford. The Phillies are not moving Andrew Painter. The Phillies are not moving Aiden Miller. Those 3 guys are untouchable. They will not be traded. I'm telling you right now. Because when Ranger Suarez hits free agency this year, you're going to have to replace him in the rotation. That's Andrew Painter. When the Phillies look at, if they don't summit the mountaintop this year, that Alec Bohm trade rumor is going to come back. If they move him, that's Aiden Miller's spot. In the outfield, Justin Crawford's in AAA for a reason. We could see him at the major league level this year. And the outfield has been a major weak spot for the Philadelphia Phillies compared to the rest of their roster. Their outfield's been solid, major league average, but the rest of their team's amazing. So by comparison, their outfield has been the weak point of this team. You're going to take your nearly major league ready top outfield prospect and trade him? Hell no. That's not happening. So those 3 guys are not moving. You'll be able to get sizable trade deadline moves with lesser prospects than that. The number 5, the number 7, the number 10 prospects in the system can be moved. But those top 3, they are lock and key, not touched. So I don't love the question because it feels like you're already waiting on the Phillies to fail. But I do love what it gives me the opportunity to talk about. So I appreciate the Mailbag Monday question there from A. So even though it sounds like you don't have faith in the Phillies, it shows me or it gives me an opportunity to talk about some things that Phillies fans may be thinking about right now. And that's why I've loved our Mailbag Monday segment. So again, appreciate everyone who sent in those questions. Thank you as well to everyone who's checked in on like our off the poll questions. We're going to have one more before the season starts. And it's going to be, I'll tell you just right now, about the Philadelphia Phillies win total for the year, so I can get an idea of where people are predicting, because the Phillies have one of the more volatile win totals, I think, in Major League Baseball because of the toughness of the National League East. So we'll get to that, but thank you to everyone who's helped with that as well in the offseason and recorded your responses on the Twitter polls. It has been a long offseason, and folks, we are now to the week where baseball that matters will be played. Thank goodness. Gear up, get ready. I cannot wait for Thursday. That's all for today's episode. Remember, again, in tomorrow's episode, we're going to go through the opening day roster. as I imagine it will be announced. If not, we'll have a darn good idea. There might be like one position slightly up for grabs, but we'll be able to pretty much predict out everything. So we'll talk about that and get into a bunch of other stuff you need to know before the Phillies take on the Nationals for opening day. Again, we're almost there, folks. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all of that great stuff that helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. And I'll talk to you tomorrow on our next episode.